Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a review of the new movie Backrooms. This did come out a while ago. I did see it pretty late into its theater run, and then now this video isn't going to go up immediately or anything. So it's been a little bit since this movie's been out, but I finally saw it and now I'm going to talk about it. Also, I finally got a working iPad. I had a super duper old iPad for the longest time, and it was so old I couldn't open up IMDb on it. And so I finally got a new iPad, and now I can open up IMDb and do my videos, I hope, a little bit better because I can actually pull up actors' names and stuff. I was trapped not being able to do that for a little bit with my old iPad. After a therapist patient disappears into a dimension beyond reality, she must venture into the unknown to save him. So yes, that is a piece of the movie, but that's basically like the third act of the therapist going after her patient to try to find where he went and what the heck is going on. There's so much more that leads up to it, and honestly, I thought this movie was fantastic. I really liked this movie. Sam and I saw it on Tuesday and it is currently Sunday. I'm so glad I've sat with it for a bit before filming this video because I think I like it more and more the more I think about it. A lot of the times when I see movies, especially horror or really just odd movies, after I see it, I go and I watch different YouTube videos and stuff about that movie to help me understand what the heck happened in that movie. I was doing that with this movie, not because I didn't understand it, but because I just wanted to know more and I wanted to hear everybody else's theories of what the heck went on in the back rooms and what was going on, because I just thought it was so incredibly interesting. Honestly, I'm so excited that this is already getting a sequel because I thought this was so cool and I just want to know so much more about everything and what was going on in that movie and in the back rooms. This movie, first of all, opens up on such an incredible scene, the very first scene, and then there's another scene later on into this movie that are shot found footage style. And I'm normally not a ginormous fan of found footage films, but this movie in particular, the two scenes that were found footage were probably the best scenes in the entire movie. The first scene really just had you questioning what the heck was going on. And then the second found footage style scene had you question even more what the heck was going on and just had you so on your toes, on the edge of your seat. It was so scary. And personally, as someone who has had a reoccurring nightmare of being trapped in somewhere that I can't escape, and the layout and the rooms and everything just makes zero sense, and it seems the further I go the more lost I get as something is chasing me. This movie had me genuinely terrified because that's a legit nightmare I have had multiple times throughout my entire life. So while there's other movies that I would definitely say are scarier in just what's going on in them. Just an example, Sinister is one of the scariest movies I've personally seen, but that is something that isn't something that I can relate to, where this movie, not that I necessarily can relate to it, but I've just had that nightmare myself throughout my entire life. So just those scenes in particular of them going through the back rooms and getting more and more lost and not knowing where they're going or what the heck is going on or what is chasing them, I was so scared because that freaked me out so much, but in a good way. I've never felt that particular kind of fear in a movie because yes, Sinister is scary, but this was just a very personal type of fear that I already had. It just scared me in a way that no other movie has ever scared me. And that's obviously going to be different for everybody because probably not everybody in the world has had that nightmare. So it's going to be different for everybody. But yeah, for me, I was legit terrified watching this movie and seeing them just get more and more lost in the back rooms. There's so many different theories of what is actually going on and who the monster is in this movie, and just all the theories about the characters and everything. This movie was just so insane. I loved it so much. I really cannot wait to rewatch this movie and relive this again whenever the sequel comes out. I cannot wait for it. One theory in particular that I really enjoyed about this was the theory that the main character, Clark, the one who discovers and goes into the back rooms, like kind of like first, he's the first like character we know who goes into the back rooms. I really liked everything going on with him in terms of like his therapy and stuff, because therapy is great. I am a strong advocate for therapy, but I've seen so many people say that the one thing about this movie that makes zero sense is that this does not seem like a type of guy who would on his own go to therapy. And so then I've seen so many theories and people speculating if him going to therapy was actually court mandated, because there's more to the story of how his ex-wife left him that he is not telling us. And it very much could be true, because we know from just his character in general that he is a very self-righteous man who doesn't think he's done anything wrong. We learn this throughout the entire movie, and specifically into the end of the movie, we learn this about Clark's character, that he is not willing whatsoever to admit any faults that he personally has done. It very much does not make sense that he himself would enter into therapy. So it is highly believed that he was mandated to go to it by a court because potentially he was abusive to his wife. And he's just not telling us that because he doesn't think he did anything wrong. And there's more to that as we go later into the movie and we discover these creatures and stuff in the back rooms. And one creature in particular, people are speculating that resembles his ex-wife, and just the treatment that he gives this character and her reaction to certain things just seems very believable that yes, he was abusive to his wife in real life. And just these like memories of things that come up in the back rooms are remembering that part of Clark. I really liked this movie. I really could go on and on about it. There is one more thing I do want to kind of talk about that I did really enjoy, but it is a spoiler, so I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll talk about it when I get to spoilers. I love this movie. I thought it was so good. I am so excited to own this movie and rewatch it and just be terrified again by this movie, but also relive it and also try to figure out more theories and things. And then whenever the sequel comes out, I cannot wait to see it, to potentially and hopefully learn even more about the back rooms and like what they are meant to be and what they are. That's another thing about this movie that I shockingly really liked. There's a lot of movies out there where the ending is very obscure and you're left with a lot of questions. And I have said that sometimes I do and sometimes I don't like that. For example, I did not really enjoy the ending of Longlegs. I thought it was weird and it left you with so many questions and I just didn't understand it. This movie left me with so many questions, but I actually enjoyed the ending and I left the movie like happily questioning it. So it's really weird how certain things you can be like, I don't like this, but it's okay for other movies. I don't know. I don't know how to describe how I feel about it because I definitely left, like I said, Longlegs very confused and it made me like that movie less. But this movie I left just, I wouldn't say confused, but just like wondering and wanting to know more. And that made me like it. That is my review of Backroom. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. It's not super duper scary in terms of like other films. It was just very scary for me, as I said, because of this reoccurring nightmare I've had my entire life of being trapped in something very similar to a backroom type area. But it's not very gory. If you can't do movies because of gore or anything, it is not very gory whatsoever. So don't be afraid of that or anything. There are some good jump scares in this movie, so be prepared for that. But yeah, I like this movie. I thought it was great and I cannot wait for the sequel. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you next week. But if you don't care, let me get into my quick little spoiler. So obviously throughout this movie, we learn that both Clark and then also the therapist character, Mary, they both have some sort of like trauma from past situations. Clark being his ex-wife leaving him and Mary being everything that happened with her mother when she was younger. And basically it seems throughout the movie that she had to make the decision as a young girl to admit her mother to some sort of like psychiatric facility because she couldn't take care of her on her own. She's lived with just like the guilt of having to do that her whole entire life. And we see her kind of carrying around that guilt in like a literal way, in the sense that she carries around like a piece of concrete from her home with her mother. She literally carries that around with her everywhere she goes, it seems. And it acts as sort of just like a crutch on her because it reminds her constantly of everything that happened with her mother. Now, at the end of the film, when the two of them are in the back rooms together, and she essentially tells Clark, if you like it here, you can stay here, because here he can live with the fact that he thinks he's right and he did nothing wrong and there's no consequences to that. However, then when the monster, which is Pirate Clark, which, by the way, just like to say, that terrified me when I saw that. I did not know what to expect when I went into this movie, and I knew there was going to be some sort of monster. I had no idea what to expect, but that was not what I thought anything was going to be, and it was like weird and scary. One of the weirdest, oddest monster characters I have ever seen. And I love the fact that it was an actor and it was all practical. I thought that was so cool. Anyway, when Clark kind of finally confronts this thing and just kind of says like, oh, I can stay here forever and it's all going to be okay and I did nothing wrong. And then he's confronted with the fact that it's like, yeah, no, that's not cool, bro. And then Mary tries to get away and this thing goes after her. And she actually uses this piece of concrete as a way to kill this thing and get it away from her. And it just kind of, for me, symbolized that Clark was never, ever, ever going to be willing to let go of what happened and admit that he did something wrong, where Mary using that piece of concrete to escape this monster, that kind of symbolized for me that she was finally willing to like move on from the whole situation with her mom and finally like forget that that all happened and forgive herself for that. Admit that she like did that, but also forgive herself for that. So I just thought that whole part was cool and like just some symbolism there. And there may be some different interpretations of that. That was my interpretation of the whole piece of concrete and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's the part I wanted to talk about. There's so many things I could talk about with this film. Those were just my favorite standout things. But anyway, that is going to be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, and I'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody.